All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 100 of the Yellow Card Podcast. It is your host, Diego, DJ, here in the house. We have a couple of new faces in here for a little while here. We have an old friend of ours who used to be our co-host, Andrew Fasciano. Andrew, how you doing tonight?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me back, Diego. Excited to be here.
It's a pleasure, man. It's a pleasure. I know that as soon as my other co-host gets in here, he's gonna probably faint out of his chair, and it would be fantastic to watch over YouTube if you guys follow us on YouTube. And we also have a very loyal fan of the podcast. She's been following us since the moment that we were brought on by Coach Guy Sports, and continuing to follow us. She's a diehard Manchester United fan. Hilarious Twitter must follow, and just honestly a very brilliant mind when it comes to the world of soccer and actually overall. Sam, how you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great. So episode 100. Can't believe that we're here in episode 100. I could have never pictured that to happen. Nevertheless, 100 episodes with my co-host who after 100 episodes can't seem to get on time for these recordings, which is fantastic. Let's dive into the content today. We got Premier League. We saw some Champions League action happen earlier in this week. We got a Europa League happening the following day after this recording, and we got World Cup in less than 3 to 4 weeks happening, which is absolutely crazy to think that 2022 has flown by so quickly and that we're already thinking Qatar 2022. Let's dive into the Premier League. It is, believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's match week 10, if I'm not mistaken. Table already looking pretty hefty in the top 4, in the top 5, even maybe even the top 10. Some surprise teams there in the top 10, some not surprising teams in the top 10. I'll start off with you, Andrew. Everton has gone through some major changes in this past year, actually in the past couple of years, with new management, new people at the helm, some players leaving, some players growing into the club so far right now. Everton is currently in 12th place with a 2-4-3 record, 10 points. Entering match week 10, they're going to be facing Tottenham. What are your overall, thoughts so far in the season on Everton? How Frank Lampard has been managing that team, and what do you expect the season to look like for you guys as Everton continues?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think overall my initial takeaway is that I think there's more to build on right now than Everton had towards the end of last season when they were just barely trying to scrape by and avoid relegation. It's still early in the season, of course, but I've liked some of the changes that Lampard has made this season. In particular, I think the midfield three of Alex Iwobi, Idrissa Gueye, and Amadou Onana has looked much better than what we had in midfield last season. And, of course, so much of the game kind of revolves around how successful your midfield can be. So I think upgrading that area of the field has made a big difference and sort of gives the team something to build on. I also think that defense has looked a lot better than it did at times last season. Connor Cody and Tarkowski both coming in at center back, I think has been kind of a big help, both in terms of defense, but also in terms of leadership and professionalism. I think they've both been good additions to the team as well. I don't have super high expectations for the season, I wouldn't say. I think this is kind of a year where what I would expect to happen is Lampard continues to sort of figure out what his best pieces are, who works together well, maybe try and target a finish somewhere between like 10th to 16th and stay out of the relegation battle is the big thing. I think if you can do that and sort of keep making progress as the season goes on, I would count that as a success given the struggles that happened at times last season.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Everton wise, what are some players that right now you're kind of high on that you think will remain in the club as Lampard continues to make his project come to fruition?
I think the top of my list right now would be Alex Iwobi, which if you had asked me that a year ago, he would not have crossed my mind. So it's been quite an impressive turnaround for him personally. I think Lampard coming in has sort of given him a bit of a second chance in some ways to reinvent himself a little bit. Under prior managers, he was being used more as a winger or a player out wide, and it wasn't really working out so well. I think there were a lot of questions among fans what exactly his best position was and whether or not managers were getting the best out of him, and it seemed like they weren't. But I think his move to central midfield, kind of coming back in the pitch a little bit more under Lampard, has really, in some ways, I would say, reignited his Everton career. So he would definitely be the first one I would pick as a guy who has stood out and been really successful so far this season. And look who it is. What's up, Jones?
After 20 minutes, of the recording starting, he finally shows up. Ladies and gentlemen, episode 100 is finally complete with Chris Jones here in the building. 20 minutes into recording. Hi, Jones. Nice to see you.
Listen, I want it on the record. I called Fasciano when he said we had a surprise. Perfect. Chef's kiss. And Sam's here too. Even better.
You know what would have been chef's kiss?
If I was here on time, yeah, I understand.
Exactly right.
Bro.
Because Sam does have kids, man, and it's only nice, but it's okay, Jones. It's okay. Every now and then we'll forgive you.
Yeah, hopefully right now.
All right, so we're talking Premier League right now. We're talking after week 10. Some of our favorite clubs where we see them happening. Andrew was just talking about Everton, talking about some of the players, some of the plans that's going on with Everton and whatnot. He realizes that having high expectations right now in Everton would be completely out of this world.
I miss Andrew's Everton segments. Not gonna
lie. I absolutely do too. So I agree with you, Andrew. It will be being given a new chance in Everton. I mean, we saw him be transferred too in the past couple of years as well. It wasn't him. It was Moise Keane. I'm sorry. Forgot that Keane was also a part of Everton. So it will be a major factor for Everton. Kind of excited too for Everton that finally Dominic Calvert-Lewin is back into being part of the rotation. It's been a difficult year for him. So kind of excited for him to be part of the rotation. Moving on from Everton, Sam, I know you and I are avid Manchester United fans. People here have heard my rants on Manchester United. Some people have called me to be, spot on. Some others have been like, dude, you're a little too harsh on United. Wondering what your takes are on United so far through 10 weeks. New management, new faces in the club, new mindset in the club, new culture as well. What are your expectations for the rest of the season? What are some moves that you could see potentially happening in the January transfer window? Or are you satisfied with the current club and the state of the club so far?
Definitely not satisfied. I can tell you that much. I'm feeling more confident about top 6. So, even start of the season, I was thinking that, this is a mid-table team. Now I'm feeling way more confident that they'll finish top 6, but I think that's as far as they're going to get this season. I think they're going to finish right about where they're sitting now, right about 5-6. Honestly, though, that's kind of all I expected this year. I think a lot of other people thought that there was going to be this huge rebuild all of a sudden, and it just doesn't happen like that. It's going to take a couple of years, and I think we all knew that. I think overall, the whole kind of vibe is still off, I guess you could say. I think there's definitely still some locker room issues. We still have the problem of the gap in the midfield. So I think there's still a lot of work to be done, but I feel better.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
I mean,
I personally would say that right now the job that Erik ten Hag has been doing is a job I wouldn't recommend for anybody else to do. I know that if we were to get Jurgen Klopp, Antonio Conte, some of these high-ticketed managers that have been known for rebuilds in their career, I don't think Manchester United would be one of those rebuilds that these people want to walk in to do. As it is, we saw Thomas Tuchel make a rebuild out of Chelsea and be kicked out just because of a bad start to the season. And even with new ownership in a club that's usually top four in the Premier League, I personally think that for the January transfer window, it's important to kind of capitalize on some of the high cap that we're currently giving away to players that are of no contribution whatsoever to the club right now, and that could be better used somewhere else. Thinking of the Harry Maguires of the world, the Cristiano Ronaldos of the world. I think Cristiano Ronaldo is probably going to get moved in January, and it's only right that he gets moved somewhere else. I think we could potentially see some other moves too. I mean, I love the addition of having Martin Dubravka come to Manchester United, but then what are we doing with people like Tom Heaton and some others that are there as well? It makes no sense to have three goalkeepers when at all times you're just going to continue to use David De Gea and continue to allow him to get away with his silly mistakes that he makes. He makes the most impossible saves in the world, but the saves that he should be making, he can't make them for his own sake. That's my take on Manchester United. I think I'm a little bit optimistic actually this year. I think there is the potential of top four. Unfortunately, with Graham Potter, it is within his record that Brighton has started very strongly, and throughout the season, there's always that chokehold somewhere in between where he slips and slides. So can I see that happening in Chelsea? Absolutely. There's players that are still not to their full potential. Talking about, the Christian Pulisic of the world, your Mason Mounts of the world. Kai Havertz is not to full potential just yet. They still need some more forwards as an option. So I could possibly see Chelsea slipping into the fifth place and not being fourth. Could also happen to Tottenham. I mean, they're very dependent on Harry Kane right now and very dependent on Heung-min Son. Richarlison still has not found his form to be somebody that can lead that team moving forward if Kane or Son are not there. Other than Kane and Son, what is the attack for Tottenham? And that's something that needs to be defined in the January transfer window for Tottenham and Antonio Conte. Moving on from Manchester United, Liverpool. What a performance today, by the way, in the Champions League. Yes, I know it's against a team like Rangers. Let's not forget that Rangers last year was a major surprise in the Champions League. Has been a major surprise all throughout Europe. Has been a phenomenal team where there's been a lot of players that have been built to high profiles and now play for high profile clubs. So for anybody thinking out there that Rangers is just a minor league club, I beg you to think otherwise, because it is a club that's bringing players that are now of high value to European leagues. 7-1 final for Liverpool. We saw Mo Salah score a hat-trick. We saw Darwin Nunez be involved. We saw some other players be involved. We saw Harvey Elliott play a really good performance today. Besides the fact that Luis Diaz will be missing 8 weeks due to a knee injury, Jones, what are some of your expectations for Liverpool this season?
I mean, you want to just keep running down the list here, because just taking all my talking points about Liverpool right here, man. I don't know what you want me to do here. See, Andrew, 100 episodes, kid hasn't changed once. It's unreal.
Well, you haven't changed much either.
I have, though. So Diego is known for Manchester United rant, anywhere between 10 to 20 minutes every episode, and it hasn't changed, Andrew. 100 episodes in here.
It was a 5-minute rant.
No, I was
Can't beat the classics.
Timestamp. No, but for Liverpool, man, it's just it's a down year right now. The team is fully banged up right now. Like you said, obviously, no Luis Diaz. It's a big loss up front. However, you're also forgetting the fact that we're missing now Arthur, who will be out until the new year with I think it's a calf strain, something straining his knee, something like that. Ramel's out for a while. Trent's out with an ankle injury for the foreseeable future. Still having that Naby Keita. Joe Matip's hurt. Andrew will love this name. Curtis Jones is also out. There's plenty of guys that are out right now for this team. Right now they're sitting at 10th in the table at 2-4-2. With the +8 goal differential definitely helps. I think it's tied for 4th best goal differential behind City, Arsenal, Tottenham. I think they're tied with Newcastle, I believe. So they're right there. I mean, they just have to stop dropping these big games. Like Arsenal last week was a big one. This past weekend, dropping it 3-2. You know, the foul in the box, make the argument there. Should have been a foul, should have not have been a foul. That's what the Prem's good for. But I mean, they got a tough little road coming up here. I mean, they play City this weekend. That's going to be an absolute bloodbath. I know Kyle Walker's out. I think John Stones is out, and then Calvin Phillips is also out for City. But Erling Haaland's going to be rested, and this guy's just been a goal machine for them. Then you got West Ham. West Ham's still a tough team. Doesn't matter. Midweek at Nottingham Forest, who should win. Leeds should win there, but then you got Tottenham after, and then we go right back into the League Cup stuff. So it's a tough little stretch going into, the World Cup break. But this team, if they can get fully healthy, they can easily work their way back in the top 4. Just right now, injuries are a big factor.
Well, so speaking of injuries and speaking of wanting to be back in top 4, though, I would say that if the January transfer window was happening right now, some of the teams that would be most involved in that transfer window right now for the Premier League would be definitely Liverpool, definitely Everton.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Maybe even Arsenal, even though they don't really need to make that many moves. They're a great team right now. Another team that could be doing it too would be West Ham. West Ham would be the one involved. But what is one team? According to you,
one team you would be surprised by that will probably make the most moves in this transfer window is going to be Chelsea.
I agree with that.
Chelsea is going to completely shift gears here. Bowley and company are going to move around some pieces, get things going. So I think a little bit of a dip's coming for them, as well as they're trying to probably move Pulisic. I believe Mason Mount likes playing with Graham Potter. I don't know how much though, so that could be another name. And I think the biggest name that's going to get moved at the trade deadline, Diego's going to look at me and be like, finally, it's about damn time. It's going to be Cristiano Ronaldo.
Oh, I said that earlier. Yeah.
Ronaldo. Sorry, late here. Ronaldo, and then if they're lucky, Harry Maguire will go play in the Greek league somewhere.
Well, that's if he doesn't push somebody else or fight somebody else.
It's fine.
No, I agree with Chelsea. I think they need some moves. I think they need they definitely need to find their next major center defensive person. Thiago Silva is already of age. This is more than likely his last World Cup playing for Brazil. How many more years does he's got under his belt is unknown at this moment. So you kind of need somebody that's going to be the next leader in the back for Graham Potter.
Well, they got one.
I don't agree in Koulibaly being that person. I just don't.
It's not him. It's Fofana, bro. It's still Fofana. He's only 21.
Fofana still needs a lot of character development, and that's something that will happen with experience. Fofana might not fit in the plans for Graham Potter either. Fofana, I think, was kind of a expedited signing just to put a Band-Aid on a major problem that they had. And this was probably part of the many disagreements that Chelsea had internally between Tuchel and Bowley. So I agree. I agree that Chelsea could be making some major moves. Let's dive into some quick predictions here for the Premier League. We got week 10 rolling in. So I'm just gonna call the match real quick, give my prediction. Jones, if you want to give yours, and then if you two have certain takes that you guys want to give real quick in those matches, feel free to jump in at any time. Brentford versus Brighton for week 10. I got 2-1 Brighton winning this match. What do you got, Jones?
At Brentford, I'm gonna go with a 1-1 draw. I think Brighton's not the same team without Graham Potter, and I really do think that Brentford's offense up front at home is much better. So I'm gonna take a 1-1 draw there.
All right. Leicester City versus Crystal Palace. I got this one in a 1-1 draw. It is at Leicester, so it's a little bit tougher to play there. What do you got?
I rode them last week. I'm gonna ride them again. I'm taking Palace 2-0, man. Completely different team right now. They're playing great football as a group. It was a big win for them last week in their win over Leeds. I think they carry over here. And I believe the last time these two teams played, Leicester squeaked out a victory back in April 2-1. So I'm gonna go 2-0 here for. Jesus, wow! I just had a brain fart. Crystal Palace.
All right. Wolves versus Nottingham Forest. I got Wolves winning this one 2-1. I see Diego Costa finally making a difference for Wolves. What do you got going on here?
I'm indifferent. Andrew, talk to me about Nottingham Forest. Talk me into taking Nottingham Forest. I know you're a big underdog kind of guy.
Yeah, well, the thing is their whole thing over the summer was they brought in so many players. So I feel like if you're looking for a positive, maybe you're hoping that at some point all those new faces and names that they brought in are going to start clicking, and maybe they find a little something extra that they haven't shown so far. So maybe that will be the week that happens.
There was a major rumor happening too this week that Cooper could potentially be getting sacked. The club came out on his favor saying, like, no, he's not going to get sacked. In fact, we want to keep him. The project that he's doing here in Nottingham Forest is tremendous. It just hasn't been successful for him. So I don't know how much you want to be talked into taking Nottingham Forest, but I think at this time they still need to do a little bit of character development there.
Also, too, you're the same guy, Diego, that tried to talk me out of Bournemouth over Leicester last week. Remember
Yeah,
that?
but you proved me differently. On Nottingham
did.
Forest, I don't know how much you got there to be able to grasp onto. I think you need a
prove you
major
differently right
performance
now.
from Jesse Lingard.
Guess what? You're going to get a major performance from Dean Henderson. 1-0 Nottingham Forest.
I mean, that's expected every week.
Is it, though?
It is, yes. Fulham versus Bournemouth. I got Fulham winning this one 1-0, but it could end in a draw. I did like how Bournemouth played last week.
See, this is where I'm indifferent right now. Fulham at home is a completely different animal. Right now, they're both sitting at 8th and 9th on the table. They're right above, Liverpool. So it kind of irks my soul a little bit. Can both teams lose so we can move up? Nope. So let's go. Honestly, let's go with a 1-1 draw. Let's take the draw here. Let's get it going.
What a Liverpool take to make.
There's the guy who talks about Manchester United. It's the same thing every single week for 20 minutes.
Not really. Tottenham versus Everton. I'm gonna let Andrew give us his take and Sam jump in as well. Considering that Everton gave it to us last week, I will say I was surprised that we even beat Everton.
I'll say a 1-1 draw. I would take a point away from home against Tottenham. I think Tottenham have been pretty good. They have been on a good run. They've been playing well in Europe too. So if Everton managed to play better than they did last week against United and get a point out of it, I'd be happy with that.
That's a reasonable fan right there.
I had
Sam?
4-1 Spurs.
Wow, 4-1 Spurs. All right. I personally got 2-1 Spurs. I do agree with Andrew. I think Everton is.
It's because Andrew's there. If it wasn't, it would be 3-0 Spurs, guaranteed. It's because Andrew's there, trying to be nice.
I have it written down. I have it written down since 3 p.m. this afternoon.
You had Andrew scheduled for the show. You knew what you were doing. Don't lie.
Not really. I actually, first thing I said earlier was I admitted that Everton gave it to Manchester United, and they do every single year. Everton is probably the toughest opponent we have had so far in the past 5 years, no matter who is managing them. Even the shittiest manager of them all, in Rafa Benitez, still gave it to us. Personally, I think this is another close matchup for Everton. However, I do think that Tottenham's got that extra edge on Everton, especially in the attack. I think Everton's defense, while very good defense, Tottenham can always switch it up. And that's the difficulty that Everton has in adapting to that switch up. So I do think that the 2-1 against Tottenham is very likely to happen. Tottenham winning, of course.
Andrew, do you remember the last time these two teams played, what that score was?
Was that the insane 5-5 cup game? Is that the one you're talking about?
I'm talking about actually the Premier League game last year. The 5-0 game.
Oh, okay.
5-0 Tottenham.
I must have forgotten that one.
Well, yeah, I would hope so. So to go on the revenge game, they played United tough last week. Do they bring it to the table here, still on the road at Tottenham? I'm going to go Calvin Pickford masterclass. I'm going to go Everton 1-0.
There we go. I like that.
Diego didn't listen to me. It's okay.
I did not listen because it was you talking. So what was your score?
Calvin Pickford masterclass. Everton 1-0.
Got the Calvin Pickford shout out too. What more could you ask for?
Oh, Andrew, I love when you're happy.
I'm so glad Andrew. Can Andrew stay from now on? When it's just me and Diego, it's very dry. I need that smiling baby face. All right, Diego,
all right,
next game.
let's
attention.
move on.
Get off your phone. Come on.
Maybe if you stop talking, I can move on. I would have already been 3 matches deep. Southampton versus West Ham. I got West Ham winning this one 3-1.
This is going to be a lot closer game than people are going to give credit for. I'm going to go West Ham 1-0. Southampton is tough at home.
Manchester United versus Newcastle. I think this is actually the match of the week besides Liverpool versus Manchester City. Newcastle.
No.
Newcastle's been
fully.
on the come up.
Listen to me. If Liverpool was fully healthy, it would be Liverpool, Manchester City. It's Manchester United and Newcastle this week. That's the big game. Let's talk about that.
Newcastle's been on the come up. I love how Bruno Guimaraes has been playing for them. I think Eddie Howe's got a phenomenal thing going on in this team. So I think this is probably by far the most difficult match up to date right now for Manchester United besides Arsenal. I still got Manchester United squeaking out a victory, but I'm not too convinced about it just yet. 2-1.
Here we go. Classic Diego. I don't feel as confident, so I'm going to give that they're going to squeak out a victory, and then when they're wrong, I'll be like, I told you so. It's the whole kit and caboodle. Come on, I see it every week. Let's go.
So what is your take, Mr. Red Hot Jones?
I'm taking a 0-0 draw. Defenses are good here. United's not going to get one. Newcastle's not going to get one. Nice boring game on a Sunday afternoon.
This guy has some soccer to watch. Leeds United versus Arsenal.
You're not going to let the Manchester United fan give her take here, bro? You're just going to move on? It's kind of rude.
It is rude.
Damn.
It is rude. Sam, what do you think? Please give it to this guy because he clearly hasn't watched soccer in ages. So if you can please give it to him, that would be great.
Joke's on you. I got up early in Vegas last week to watch soccer, so get it right.
That is the biggest lie. Whoever gets up early and in Vegas. I mean, come on now. Sam, go right ahead.
Did you not get stay up really late?
Yeah, right.
Did you not get my snap of me in the sportsbook watching the game? No? On Sunday? Yeah, that's what I thought.
He makes it count as like the early snap, considering that he probably was staying up all the way through. And it was probably like 6 a.m. when
I
he
went to
snapped
bed
me,
at
and it was
4.
3 a.m.
I went to bed
over
at 4:30 and I woke up at 6. Hour and a half. Let's go.
Anyway, Sam, please proceed.
I have 3-2 United. Feeling like
Ooh.
fairly confident about a win, but I don't think it's going to be by any big margin.
Andrew, give me your take here.
I'll go 2-2 draw. Surprise for Newcastle.
Yeah, let's go, Andrew. That's why I need Andrew back. Come on. Diego, give him the contract. Bring him back.
He has the contract. He just hasn't signed it.
Bring him back. Come back. Come
on. All right. Leeds United versus Arsenal. I got Arsenal winning this one 2-1, but I think Leeds actually gives them a hell of a game.
2-0 Arsenal. Arsenal capitalizes off momentum last week. Leeds at home is better. They'll play them tougher defensively, but I just think Arsenal in that back four are too solid right now. I'll take Arsenal 2-0.
Okay. Aston Villa versus Chelsea. I got Chelsea winning this one 3-1. Aston Villa is nowhere near the level they need to be. In fact, I just don't think Steven Gerrard is the right guy for the plan that they need to execute for Aston Villa to come back up.
In my opinion, he might be the next manager to get sacked over the Nottingham Forest guy.
I would disagree. I would say Ralph Hasenhüttl will be the next guy, and then Steve Gerrard.
Who?
Ralph Hasenhüttl from Southampton.
Oh yeah. Yes and no. I'll disagree. I'm gonna actually go Chelsea 1-0. I think Aston Villa is gonna play them tough. Chelsea's just gonna score a late one.
All right. Now moving on, Liverpool versus Manchester City. I'll let Andrew go first. Sam, the Liverpool fan, and then myself.
I'll go 3-1 Man City. I think Holland is just on too much of a roll, and Liverpool have too many injuries to keep up with Man City right now.
I've got a 2-2 draw just because I'm feeling spicy. I feel like
Love that take. I love that
Honestly-
take. And look,
honestly-
look. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. I'm gonna cover the other scores that I have. But if you look right there,
yeah,
2-2 draw for Manchester City and Liverpool.
It's in writing.
I
The
had
gas
that
has
written.
gotta
I had
run
that
out
written
at
from
some
a long
point.
ago. Yep.
Honestly, not for nothing. She can come back every week too. Man, all in. This is the new squad, Diego. Every week. This
I
right
agree.
here. Welcome to the Yellow Car Podcast. I'm leaning the Andrew side here, but the fan of me is hoping to take away a point here. So honestly, I'm gonna go with a 1-1 draw just to be a tiny bit different. I don't want to copy you guys, so I'll go 1-1. But I'll take a point. A point's key here. We'll take a point.
Okay. Good. All right. So those are the predictions for the Premier League. Any final
Speaking of,
any
real
final
quick,
takes?
just to go back on last week, fire. I was on fire last week.
Yeah, you were.
I went perfect on that Saturday slate, and I think I only lost 2 overall, so that puts me up to 44 and 43. Back above 500, Diego. I'm coming for you. Even though you're sitting there at 48 and 39.
Yeah, please. Good luck coming
I
up
got
for
you.
me.
I'm on
I
the
have
full
to
back.
get every single one of these matches.
I'm full
won.
back, bro. I'm full back. I got you. Got you. Come.
I just like to point out, Andrew, this is another thing that hasn't changed. When he does
Yeah.
great, he gives himself credit, but when he doesn't do
But I
great,
give you
he
credit,
just keeps
bro.
real silent.
But the thing is, you act like I don't give you credit when you go.
Oh no, you give me credit, but when you don't
When
do
you go,
well,
like,
you
8 and
just
2,
like
when
you
you go
just
8 and
avoid
2,
it. You just
No, I
avoid
don't
the
know, bro. You went
conversation.
7-3 last week. Like I said, you're still ahead of me. It's not like I'm discrediting your great performance in picking the Premier League right now. You make it seem like I just go, oh yeah, look at me, 8 and 2 this week, Diego. It's not how it went. Roll back the tape. Come on. I'm also standing currently, so currently not in my original setup. So now I have a desk that's raised here, and there's literally a treadmill that I'm currently standing on. The girlfriend lifted the desk up, got a little treadmill so she can walk and work in the morning now.
we like
Oh,
that.
Tell me
me
you
too.
watch Martha Stewart on the Home Improvement channel without telling me you watch Martha Stewart on the Home Improvement channel.
Excuse me. I saw it on TikTok. I saw where she got it. It's her. Come on, that's what TikTok's for, bro.
All right, so let's move on to another topic real quick. We got the World Cup coming up in about 3 to 4 weeks, give or take. We know what the groups look like. In fact, only way I know how the groups look like is because I've been doing this stupid album that I've been addicted to since 1991 when I was born.
Andy
Uh,
booklet.
90% done on that.
Fun fact: I went into a Walgreens the other day and saw it, and I said, "Oh, I should get this." And then I looked and go, "Diego has it. All set."
So, with that said, let's talk about what we could foresee the semifinals and the potential final for this year's World Cup. Groups are kind of all over the place, but what are some teams that you really think will make it all the way through those stages? I'll start off with Sam, move over to Andrew, Chris, and then I'll go last.
Who's Chris? Oh, me. Sorry, not used to it.
I mean, I think everyone is kind of on the same page here. Argentina, Brazil. I also have France and Belgium
Mhm.
are my final 4. Not excited about England. I mean, I think they're just choke city lately. And I think that's going to continue. So
England hasn't been good since they lost the Euro to Italy.
it
This
was such a
past-
buzzkill, and I feel like they're never going to recover.
Nope.
It's just like haunting them.
Not with their current manager. If they could get rid of Southgate, they'll be fine. But
I agree.
They're not going to.
I know.
So
that's the issue.
Let's back up for a little bit, just real quick here. We also have our motherland Team USA on the World Cup. We got Matt Turner,
Give it to
Zach Steffen, Sergino Dest, Aaron Long, Chris Richards, Robinson, Yetlin, a bunch of people on this
Give it to
World Cup team.
Fastiano.
If my co-host would stop having his little temper
Yeah,
tantrum,
I'm sorry.
that
I'm
would be
standing.
phenomenal.
I'm not used to
Uh,
standing and recording, so I'm moving a lot. Give it to Fasciano, please.
Team USA, Andrew, how far do you foresee them going in the World Cup? Do you foresee them being an underdog at all this year, or do you foresee them just being out in the group stages?
I think given sort of how young the roster is and the fact that obviously US MNT wasn't here 4 years ago, I think step one is see how the group stage goes before we think too far ahead. I think on paper, it's going to be a competitive group. England is theoretically the favorite, but like Sam and Chris were just saying, they haven't quite had that mojo that we saw from them at the Euros recently. I think Wales is a pretty good team.
Mm-hmm.
Iran, maybe not the flashiest team, but I think 4 years ago they played both Spain and Portugal, I want to say, pretty tough in their group. So they're not a walkover either. If I had to pick right now, I would say USA finishes second in that group, which I think would be a pretty big success. I think it's important for them to have a good group stage and try and get out of that group to not necessarily make up for what happened 4 years ago, but just kind of get things back on track and build a little bit of feel good energy or mojo, whatever you want to call it, going forward. And then I think if I have this right, I think if they finish second in Group B, they would play the winners of Group Group A, who probably on paper would be the Netherlands, which would be a tough matchup, I think. So that's also part of why I think let's see how the group stage goes. If they get through that, get to the round of 16, I think that's a success. And then maybe we kind of go from there, because a lot can happen in the World Cup. We all know that. You never really know who's going to finish where, but I think that target of getting out of the group, I would love to see that from this young core this time around.
Yeah. Sam, what do you think?
Same. I see them finishing second. I definitely think they'll give England a run for their money, and I am going to love watching that. But it's a tougher group. Like Andrew said, I mean, Wales isn't a bad team, and I actually think Iran is going to do well. I think they're going to outperform what people are expecting of them. But I don't know. We'll see. They're an exciting team for sure. They're pretty fun to watch. More fun than they've been.
Yeah. Jones, what are your thoughts on Team USA?
So to clarify, Andrew was right. If they finish runner up, they get the winner of Group A. So which would be the Netherlands. But if they win Group B, then they play the runner up of Group A. So that's where we want to be, realistically, if we want to move on. But I think coming out of the group stage, it's good for them for two reasons. One, they're getting the experience of the World Cup as a group together. And two, we have the World Cup coming to the States in 2026. Perfect to get the experience now, get a advance from the group stage under your belt, and then move on. If you move on, the further you go, it's even better for you, the more experience you get. But I think by the time 2026 rolls around, we're going to be talking about how competitive this team can really be.
I personally am a little bit optimistic with Team USA. I think my main concern is the tactics that are going to be utilized with this team, because on paper this team can go in many different formations. They can execute a perfect 3-4-3, a 3-5-2, maybe even a 4-4-2 formation if executed correctly. The only problem that I foresee for them is how they line up, because realistically in net they have two great choices. They got Matt Turner and they got Zach Steffen. Either choice that you go with, you're doing it just fine. The problem that where it develops further though is in the midfield, where the creativity has got to be there, especially for them in a group that involves England and Wales as well. England and Wales both have very good midfield choices, and they can develop further from there. If you have a midfield where you're just expecting Weston McKennie and Christian Pulisic to develop your attack from there on, you're kind of in a crappy spot, because if McKennie goes injured or Pulisic gets injured, then how do you get a chemistry going between McKinney, Reina, and maybe Ricardo Pepi? Considering that the three are used to three different styles of football being played, coming into a stage where it's required for them to have some sort of chemistry in order to develop a good midfield attack. So that's my concern for Team USA. Realistically, I actually see them finishing third in the group. I think England will get somewhat lucky in the group stages. They will probably end second. I actually think that the winner of this group is actually Wales. They have been a very gritty and hard fighting team all throughout the competitions and whatnot. This is a great opportunity for them. And let's not forget that Gareth Bale and company will look to make an impact there, and they could very well do it in this group stage that they have. I'm optimistic, but at the same time, I'm realistic, and I'm hoping that the tactics are there for Team USA. So again, let's go back to the semifinals. What we think that the four teams could be. Sam, I believe you said Argentina, Brazil, Belgium, and France, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So moving on to what you think the final would be. If the World Cup final was today, what do you think the final would be?
Argentina, France.
Oh, I like that. Okay. So who do you see winning the World Cup this year then?
Unfortunately, Argentina.
Really? Wow, you think Lionel Messi will get the trophy that will put him above
Yeah.
the
I do.
criticism? Wow,
Yep.
okay. All right, I like that take. It's a good one. Andrew, what do you think?
My big prediction for the World Cup is I think for the first time since I want to say 2002, we'll have a non-European winner. So I agree with Sam. I think probably Brazil or Argentina are the two most likely to make that happen, but I think it's time for a team from outside of Europe to get a win. I think it will be exciting and a little fresh after a run of European teams winning. So if I had to pick right now, I think I would go with Brazil. I think they have just so much talent, but I think Argentina is also one who you have to mention is certainly capable of getting it done with Messi and a whole cast of supporting players who have performed, I think, better than some of the other Argentinian teams that have been around him in the past. Recently, winning the Copa America, I believe, not too long ago. So those would be my two big favorites. But I think one way or another, someone from outside of Europe is going to get it done.
I like it. So what do you foresee as your top four teams?
Top four, let's see. I don't really have the paths in front of me, so I'm not exactly sure what like the potential matchups would be. But if I had to pick four right now, I think I'd go Argentina, the Netherlands, Brazil, and also put Belgium up there. I think they're another good solid team from that half of the bracket.
Okay, I like it. Let's move on to you, Jones. Top four teams and what you would predict the final will look like and who could be the World Cup winner this year.
I'm gonna say one that I really, really like is actually the Dutch. I really like the Dutch this year. So they're gonna be one of my final four teams. Another final four team of mine is going to be, thinking out loud, I'm gonna actually go with Portugal. Listen, it's chaotic, but they got some real dudes in that midfield. Bruno Fernandes, Ronaldo Sanchez and company. I think in Ronaldo's potential last World Cup as well. I mean, I shouldn't say potential because he's coming to the States in 2026. Let's be honest here.
Now that he can legally.
No,
He's coming for sure.
I doubt
So
it.
I'm gonna go Netherlands. I'm gonna go Portugal. I'm gonna go trying to look at the groups and see here what I like. I'm gonna go Belgium. And honestly, I'm gonna go with a sleeper here. I'm gonna go with Actually, I shouldn't even say a sleeper. I just think they're gonna come out of this group very much so a little bit banged up, but they're gonna be like we went through already, and it's gonna be good for this team. I think Spain's gonna finish in the final four as well. They're still young and talented. And they're very good. I actually really do like the Dutch show the win. So that's my final four. I think Diego, you know my bold take, but my bold take of the World Cup is that France is going to get out of the group stage. I think Denmark wins the group. Australia comes in second. Bold take.
All right.
Because
so who do you predict as the World Cup winner this year then?
Netherlands.
The Netherlands, okay.
No team that has won the World Cup since 2010. So including the 2006 World Cup, when they come back the following year, they have yet to make it out of the group stage.
See, even though I have France going to the final, they're also my most likely to choke big. It's going to go one way or another.
I agree.
For me personally, my top four this year are Germany, Portugal, Brazil, Argentina.
Germany, really?
For me, Germany is a big sleeper right now in a lot of people's eyes, and I'll say the reasons why. Number one is this is the last opportunity for Manuel Neuer to be featured in a World Cup. Rest assured, the guy is going to have a hell of a performance. He's been very solid for Bayern Munich behind the net. He's been a great leader, and that is exactly what Germany need in this World Cup. Second part to that is Thomas Müller is a major factor in the attack for Germany. Müller has been a major factor in the attack for Bayern Munich. He's been able to develop a great chemistry with Sadio Mane in the club right now, and he's that leader that a lot of these team members right now look towards, especially coming into a World Cup setting where people like Neuer, Müller, Goretzka, and Gnabry have been so used to. There's other two factors as well. Their defense is a solid one. They have great names involved in it. Robin Gosens, which we saw today perform extremely well for Inter Milan. Antonio Rudiger has been phenomenal for Real Madrid. He's continued to develop great into a whole new form that we didn't see out of him in Chelsea. He's even been able to score some goals. Niklas Sula, he's been phenomenal for Borussia Dortmund. In fact, the only reason why they're even more involved this year in the Bundesliga than maybe they should be. Then you go forward and look at their midfield potentials. Ilkay Gundogan, a phenomenal major piece for Manchester City. When the rest of Manchester City doesn't seem to show up, Ilkay Gundogan is the one that gets them back to showing up. This is the kind of leadership that you need in that midfield, and Germany has that in Ilkay Gundogan. Goretzka has been a phenomenal center defensive mid. You got new minds like Joshua Kimmich, and you got Kai Havertz involved. You got Serge Gnabry, who can also be a phenomenal threat down the wing. And then you look at their attack: Royce, Sané, and Werner. I don't consider Werner to be a major factor for Germany this year, but Leroy Sané, he's been a phenomenal factor all along for Bayern Munich, and you expect to see that out of him, especially with a lot of his team members already having played at the club level with him. You got Müller, you got Gnabry, you got Kimmich playing alongside of him. Of course, Leroy Sané is going to be a huge factor for Germany this year, and I expect them to go all the way to the semifinals. Portugal, I agree with what Chris said. This is Cristiano Ronaldo's potential last World Cup. I personally don't see him going to USA. I would love to see him here in the US World Cup. It would be a phenomenal chance for us to see one of the greatest players of all time.
Just say to see the GOAT. Just say to see the GOAT. He's the GOAT. It's okay.
He's the GOAT. But I will say though, Argentina also has a great potential to win the World Cup this year. And if Messi wins the World Cup, that puts him over the top at that point, unfortunately.
I will agree.
I've always been a major Ronaldo fan.
Listen to me.
But unfortunately, I have to give the credit there to Messi.
Listen to me. I will agree with you 100%. But until Messi wins that World Cup, Ronaldo's the GOAT.
No, of course. Yeah. I agree with what you're saying. I'm just saying if Messi gets to win that World Cup, though, That's where Messi gets that authority. And unfortunately for Portugal, though, one of the problems that they have, and they have always had in every single World Cup competition, is they get too emotional and they make a lot of mistakes in that aspect. A lot of red cards, a lot of yellow cards that are costly in the group stages. And if you have that happening in this year's competition, forget about Portugal making it even to the semifinal. They'll probably get to the group of 8, and that's it. If that is the performance that you see happening from them. Do they have a really good team on paper? Absolutely. You got Joao Cancelo, you got Fonte, you got Pepe, who's been a leader all along for Portugal. Then you look at Ruben Diaz, Bernardo Silva, Fernandes, João Moutinho, Renato Sanchez, Ruben Neves. You got Cristiano Ronaldo, Diogo Jota. Like, yeah, you have a phenomenal team on paper.
But they can never perform for the country.
Exactly. They can never perform for the country. Number 2 is that emotional piece of things there. And the
Bruno,
last thing,
you can say it. Bruno's too emotional. You can say it.
I actually think there's 3 people that are too emotional in that team: Pepe, Bruno, and Cristiano.
Bruno, and Bruno.
And I think that if you see Cristiano arguing back to the head coach of this team, that's where you lose the locker room. And that's another major issue for Portugal that in the World Cup. You just can't have that. You can't have that. Somebody needs to be the leading voice in that locker room, and the leading voice for that locker room, the correct leading voice for that locker room, is their head coach. Many people will say it's Cristiano Ronaldo, but I disagree, because Cristiano Ronaldo's too emotional. And when he gets too emotional, then you butt heads into people like Bruno Fernandes, like Pepe, and maybe even Rui Patricio as well.
Real quick, who do you have winning the World Cup?
Brazil.
Okay.
I think Brazil wins the World Cup this year. On paper, they have a phenomenal team. On the field, they have a phenomenal team. They just need to also get their emotions under check. If you have somebody who wants to be the diva of the team, like Neymar, trying to control the tempo of this team, forget it. Brazil does not even stand a chance to win the World Cup. However, if they can manage to get in sync and play to the potential that they have there, Brazil is a clear winner.
They're definitely the best squad.
They got a phenomenal squad. I mean, you look up and down their roster, and in net they already have a phenomenal choice. They have Alisson and you have Ederson, the 2 best goalkeepers in the world right now, in the toughest league in the world right now. In the Premier
Calvin
League.
Pickford plays for England, dude. Come on.
It's actually Jordan Pickford.
That's what I said. Calvin Pickford.
Anyways, then you look at Brazil's defense. It's phenomenal. You got Militao, you got Marquinhos, you got Thiago Silva, you got Alexander, you got Danilo. Center defensive mid pieces, you got Casemiro, you got Coutinho, you got Fabinho. Then you look at their midfield: Anthony, Gabriel Jesus, Neymar, Rafinha, Richarlison, Vinny Jr. Rest assured that Vinny Jr. is going to be a major factor this year. He's already been a huge factor for Real Madrid and potentially the next best player in the world after Haaland and Mbappe. I think he's in the same frame as Haaland and Mbappe, and then there's him. For me, Argentina personally, I think Argentina has good potential. I just don't see them winning the World Cup this year. It's a decent team.
I know,
but why do you think that is?
Because of their goalkeeper.
No, not even.
No, it is.
No, not even. I actually think the goalkeeper is a decent goalkeeper, and he's good.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he is. Emiliano Martinez is a good keeper, and Franco Armani is a very good keeper as well. They have great options.
I'm talking about Emiliano Martinez. That's it. Trash.
He might be trash. He might be trash at club level, but when he puts on that jersey for Argentina, he plays at another level. I mean, we have a lot of goalkeepers that are like that. But for me, like keeper wise, they're also another team that are all set. Franco Armani solid in net, and so is Emiliano Martinez. For me, their major issue, unfortunately, comes down to actually their health. You look up and down their roster. Giovanni Lo Celso is very injury prone. Angel Di Maria, very injury prone. Rodrigo De Paul, very injury prone. Paredes, it has been banged up a couple of times. Then you look at their front pieces, and it's unstable. I mean, yeah, you got Lionel Messi as your front piece, and you would think that you're all set. But then you got Lautaro Martinez, who will also need to be fit somewhere in between their plans. And then you got Julian Alvarez, who still has to develop. I mean, he had the perfect opportunity this past week to prove to Manchester City that he belongs in that team, and he was nowhere to be found in that field at all against a team that, quite frankly, if Julian Alvarez was at the level that he was playing for River Plate, Julian Alvarez would have already put 3 to 4 goals behind the net. So for me personally, Argentina just doesn't cut it for me as the World Cup winner. Do they have a chance if they can make it work? Like, yeah, they can. But I just think it comes down to their health. And that's the main concern for me. Any other final takes? Who do we see as potential sleepers in the World Cup?
Well, I just want to retort your Brazil take. No odds on
Sure.
favorite has won the World Cup, and I believe since like the early 2000s. And Brazil has that big giant baby Neymar, so they're not winning.
I mean, yeah, that goes back to what I said. If they were driven by an emotional Neymar, they got no chance of winning. If they are driven by somebody who's actually going to be a leading voice in that locker room, like their coach, much like Portugal, then they have every single chance of winning. They got a phenomenal team.
My only thing with Germany has probably the toughest schedule out of everybody. Spain, Costa Rica, and Japan right out of the group, and then they play the second place of
Group D.
F. No, Group F.
Oh, Group F, yeah. Okay.
Group F or the first place team of Group G, which could be Canada or Brazil. Like that's no, I'm sorry, it's So they would play the second place team of Group F, which would probably be Canada or Croatia. If they win after, they'd probably have to play Brazil. So that's right there. That's 5 tough games for them. And they're going to be all physical games, every single one of those games. So that's why I think Germany is a little bit of a trap there.
Okay.
But other than that, I mean,
who do you see as the potential sleepers in this year's World Cup?
I mean, I hate to say it, but I mean, Mexico. Mexico could be that sleeper sitting right there in Group C. You beat Poland, you beat Saudi, you're right there. And then they play the winner of Group D, which could be Australia, Denmark, France. I think they win either of those games. I think they can slowly work their way up. I think Mexico, to me, is that spot. If not, and by some miracle this team makes it out of the group, I'm going to go with Japan.
Okay. Sam, who do you see as potential sleepers in this year's World Cup?
Canada,
I like
who
it.
are also in a fairly tough group because I think Croatia is going to do well.
Mhm.
But yeah, Canada, I love watching them.
And Morocco is playing in a very comforting scenario where they're adapted to that weather as well. So I agree. That's a very tough group. Andrew, what do you think?
I'll go with Senegal. I think they have a very
Yeah.
exciting team, a lot of talented players on that roster. And I also think they're in a group where on paper they should be one of the 2 teams that gets out of that group. So once they're in the round of 16, if they can indeed get the job done and clinch that, I think they'd be a team to watch out for.
There are 3 teams for me that I potentially see as sleepers. One of them being another South American team, being Uruguay. I think they're heavily underrated.
I thought you were going to go a different direction.
I think they're heavily underrated. I think Ecuador could potentially make it too.
That's what
But
I
think Ecuador, unfortunately, it's a little too young to be considered a potential underdog. They could crack under pressure. I don't know what just happened to Sam, but great having you, Sam. Welcome back.
Yeah, the trio.
She probably hated my take, and that's why she left. That's fine.
Not the first time I made a woman left.
No. So I think Uruguay could be a sleeper. I think another sleeper as well could be Serbia. Serbia is a very physically driven team. And when you got teams like Brazil that are not very adapted to physicality, and neither is Cameroon. Like Cameroon's adapted to speed, but not physicality. Serbia might stand a chance here. And another team that I also consider a potential sleeper is actually Denmark. Denmark has a very good team, a very good core there, and I think that they could surprise a lot of people in this year's World Cup. So those are my 3 sleepers that I could foresee. I'll be pleased with either one of those three making it past the round of 16. With that said, any additional takes, any last minute thoughts or comments that we have?
Make sure if you guys listen to this, make sure after this episode you go on Twitter, go hashtag bring back Fasciano, and then tweet at us. Winner gets a shirt.
It's going to be trending by tomorrow.
That's the plan.
Before we go, I just want to say thanks to both of you guys for inviting me to be a part of this 100th
Absolutely.
episode. And huge congrats to both of you too, because that's a lot of time spent prepping and recording. So you should both feel really good about hitting this milestone because it's very impressive.
Well, listen, I want to be the first to say this. If it wasn't for you, there were doubts in my head on how successful I really thought this podcast could go. So having you as a part of it really made this a lot easier for us. So we wanted to give you very much so a big round of applause because you're a real big part of this. And the fact that you're here right now makes it even more sweet, the fact that we made it 100 episodes.
Thank you.
I would agree with that. I just want to say thank you to everybody that has been listening to us from episode 1 or from any episodes in between all the way up to episode 100. It's been a pleasure having every week some content to deliver to you, whether it's Premier League, whether it's MLS, whether it's Champions League, Europa League, whatever league we're talking about, whether it's just us ranting about our teams, whether it's just me going out for 20 minutes about Manchester United. One way or another, you guys have managed to tune in to 100 episodes, and we are extremely thankful for that. With that said, episode 100 also concludes the end of season 1. Season 2 rolling out next week. A lot more content, a lot more to be talking about, a lot more potentials for new guests to come on board. So with that said, thank you all so much to all of you for supporting us for 100 episodes, and looking forward to another 100 episodes moving forward. Signing off, Diego, Chris Jones. Andrew, thank you so much for coming on as a guest. It's been a pleasure having you. Welcome back at any time. Let us know whenever you are around and want to hop on for just 30 minutes or an hour, however long you want to hop on.
No,
We'll be happy to have you.
Fuck that. Season 2 doesn't have without Fasciano.
We will love that, but listen, I gotta respect the man's personal schedule. Sam, it's been a pleasure having you as well. I don't know what happened. Seems like you had to go, but it was a pleasure having her on as well, and she's welcome back at any time. Thank you all so much. Until next week, see you guys.